Electric Hummer teased by General Motors gets 1,000 HP output. GM's new all-electric Hummer will have 1,000 horsepower and be capable of accelerating from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. It's official. General Motors confirmed its plan to reboot the Hummer, a military-style behemoth once seen as a symbol of American excess, in an all-electric version. GM will unveil the revamped GMC Hummer EV in an ad during Sunday's Super Bowl game, reviving the vehicle launched in the 1990s but phased out after the 2008 financial crisis. Rumors of the Hummer's rebirth had been circulating in the US press for weeks, but GM made the news official only Thursday, ahead of the marketing blitz planned for Sunday's American Football Championship between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. The 30-second quiet revolution spot in the expensive coveted television real estate that is the Super Bowl broadcast plays up the gulf between the auto's brutish design and its noise-free operation. The ad contains a banner touting the revamped Hummer's zero emissions, a big contrast to the original, the quintessential gas guzzler, nevertheless beloved by the likes of former California governor and actor Arnold Schwarzenegger. The new Hummer will have 1,000 horsepower and be capable of accelerating from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. GM will build the new Hummer at a Detroit Hamtramck assembly plant in Michigan, which was spared following last year's lengthy strike at the U.S. auto giant. Earlier this week, GM announced it was investing $2.2 billion in the plant, which will build a variety of all-electric trucks and SUVs. Battle of the electric trucks. See how the GMC Hummer EV, Tesla Cybertruck and Rivian R1T stack up. 2021 is shaping up to be the year of the electric pickup, as GMC will launch a Hummer EV and Tesla will start production of the Cybertruck. These models will follow the highly anticipated Rivian R1T, which is coming in the second half of 2020. Now that we know a little bit about the models, let's see how they stack up. The big news today was the Hummer EV will have a staggering output of 1,000 horsepower, 746 kilowatts, 1,014 PS, and 11,500 pounds-foot, 15,574 Nm, of torque. Those numbers grabbed plenty of headlines, and it's easy to see why. One thing to note is that we don't know yet if that's the only model or the headline-grabbing range topper with less powerful versions to be announced by the time it hits production. The most powerful Rivian R1T is rated at 753 horsepower, 562 kilowatts, 764 PS, and 825 pounds-foot, 1,120 Nm, of torque. That torque figure looks pathetic next to the Hummer EV, but that's the traditional rating. If you want to look at big numbers, the R1T has a total grounded torque rating of 10,324 pounds-foot, 14,000 Nm. That's still less than the Hummer, but it's worth mentioning the insane figure quoted by GMC is likely the same thing. Of course, there will also be two other versions of the R1T. The entry-level model has a combined output of 402 horsepower, 300 kilowatts, 407 PS, and 412 pounds-foot, 560 Nm, of torque, while the long-range variant is rated at 700 horsepower, 522 kilowatts, 709 PS, and 825 pounds-foot, 1,120 Nm, of torque. In marketing fluffville, the torque rating is 5,162 pounds-foot, 7,000 Nm, for the base model, and 10,324 pounds-foot, 14,000 Nm, for the long-range variant. Tesla hasn't provided performance specifications for the Cybertruck, but the model will be offered in 3 different configurations: single-motor rear-wheel drive, dual-motor all-wheel drive and tri-motor all-wheel drive. The company also said the tri-motor variant will be able to run from 0 to 60 miles per hour, 0 to 96 kilometers per hour, in less than 2.9 seconds. That beats the Hummer's time of 3 seconds and the R1T's fastest time of 3 seconds. On the topic of range, the Cybertruck appears to be the champion, as the tri-motor model will be able to travel more than 500 miles, 805 kilometers, on a single charge. The lesser variants will have ranges in excess of 250 and 300 miles, 402 and 483 kilometers. The R1T, on the other hand, will have ranges in excess of 230, 300 and 400 miles, 370, 483 and 644 kilometers. The big question is the Hummer's range. Nothing is official, but we can expect the model to travel at least 300 miles, 483 kilometers, as GM CEO Mary Barra has previously described that distance as the sweet spot. Another big unknown is the Hummer's price. There has been speculation that it could cost $90,000, but that should be taken with a grain of salt. That's not an issue with the Cybertruck, as Tesla says the base model will start at $39,900. The dual-motor variant will begin at $49,900, while the tri-motor will cost an extra $20,000. The R1T will be significantly more expensive but cost less than initially thought. Just days ago, it was revealed the $69,000 starting price wasn't for the base model but the mid-range variant. Of course, we can expect a detailed pricing later this year. That's just a brief comparison of 3 upcoming electric pickups, but there are plenty of others on the horizon, including the F-150 and Bollinger B2. They'll be joined by new entries from Karma and Lordstown. Ford creates one-off 3D printed locking lug nuts using your voice. A 2020 Corvette C8 had its wheels stolen in Detroit last week, but that might not have happened if the model had some technology from Ford. While locking lug nuts are nothing new, Ford has teamed up with EOS to create nuts that are as unique as your voice. That's not just marketing hype either, as a driver's voice is recorded and then transformed into a singular sound wave that is shaped like a circle. This pattern is then integrated into a stainless steel locking lug nut using 3D printing. A matching key is also made at the same time, and Ford says only a small amount of grinding is required to make them ready for use. The one-off design prevents thieves from using a mass-produced key to steal your wheels, but the safety features don't end there. As Ford explained, there are unevenly spaced ribs inside the nut and indentations that widen the deeper they go. The company says this prevents people from making a wax imprint of the pattern, as the wax would break when it's pulled away from the nut. Of course, you don't have to use your voice to create a 3D printed locking lug nut. As an example, Ford suggested they could use vehicle-specific patterns such as a Mustang logo for use on pony cars. The company could also print more obscure designs such as a driver's initials or the outline of a famous racetrack like the Nürburgring. However, selecting a popular pattern would kind of defeat the point, as keys would be more common. There's no word on whether or not Ford will actually offer 3D printed lug nuts, but the company said they've been using 3D printing for over 30 years. While the parts used to be limited to prototypes, they're becoming more common and can be found on production vehicles such as the GT and Mustang Shelby GT500. Ford now lets you 3D print its cars. Ford was the first car manufacturer to use an assembly line more than 100 years ago. Now, keeping with its innovative heritage, Ford is one of the first car manufacturers that allows users to download digital images and 3D printable files of its vehicles. Mind you, the things are not actually cars, but scale models of Ford's current superstars. But that doesn't make them less cool. So, if you want to get a 3D printed Shelby GT350R or even a new Ford GT, you can check out Ford's 3D store and choose the model of your liking. But wait, it gets better. Because 3D printing is becoming an increasingly popular trend, Ford wants to offer customers a chance to create their own 3D models. That's why the official site also offers the possibility to buy and download digital 3D printable images that can be used to print the models on your own, at home if you have a 3D printer, of course. Although the store now features only 6 cars, Ford states that more will be added. The 3D pre-printed 1/32 models that are available on Ford's site are made from plastic, but purchasing digital images allows users to utilize different scales and a variety of materials. Now, how much time until the full functional vehicles can be printed? Generally appoints ex-Singer boss as CEO, wants to open US plant in 2021. Generally Automotive is looking to secure its future by opening a new manufacturing, research and design facility in the United States by 2021. The new plant will allow the sports car startup to ramp up its production and accelerate the development of future models. Generally, which currently offers only one model called Design 1, says the facility will also provide it with direct access to one of its largest intended markets. As we target growth in the 2020s, we believe that it will be highly beneficial to open a new facility in the USA, said Frederick Joulet, co-founder of Generali Automotive. This facility will give us greater access to valuable skills and make our supply chain more efficient. We are currently evaluating our options, and a final decision on location will be made later this year, he added. According to the company, the move is part of a wider expansion plan, which will be led by newly appointed CEO, Alexander Lee. A former CEO of Singer Vehicle Design, Lee is said to bring considerable experience as an entrepreneurial chief executive to Generali Automotive. He will manage Generali's operations and strategy globally. Alexander Lee has more than 20 years' leadership experience in the automotive and technology sectors, including a 3-year tenure at Singer Vehicle Design. During his time with Singer, Lee ramped up the company's operations, grew the company's sales year on year, and delivered 60% of the total cars built by the brand since its founding in 2009. For Generali, the 2020s will be a time of exceptional growth in all senses of the word. "I can think of no one better placed to lead this expansion than Alexander Lee," said Anthony Generali, co-founder of Generali Automotive. "His considerable experience and proven track record will be crucial as we take Generali to the next level. We are all looking forward to working with him going forward," he added. The Bugatti Veyron could have used a W18 engine. The 8.0-liter quad-turbo W16 engine of the Bugatti Veyron and Chiron is one of the most over-the-top powertrains ever developed, but had things gone a little different, it may have never seen the light of day. In the late 1990s, Bugatti unveiled a trio of concept cars styled by Italdeson in the form of the EB118, EB218, and the Bugatti 18/3 Chiron. While none of these cars made it to the production line, all three featured a bizarre 6.3-liter naturally aspirated W18 engine that consisted of 3 banks of 6 cylinders with a 60-degree offset between each cylinder bank. The Bugatti EB 18.4 that previewed the eventual Veyron featured the same engine. While this engine had 2 more cylinders than the eventual powertrain used by the Veyron, it had significantly less power, only churning out 547 horsepower and 429 pounds-foot, 649 Nm, of torque. Drivitrub notes that packaging issues were one of the reasons why the engine wasn't used. You see, having 3 banks of cylinders meant that there had to be an intake right next to a red-hot exhaust manifold, a setup that's very poor for combustion and power. While selling a production car with a W18 engine would have been rather amazing, doing so simply didn't make sense, and this engine didn't have the grunt Bugatti needed to set a new production car top speed record. Mercedes said to be pondering F1 exit after this season. A joint report from Autocar and Race Fans claims that the board of Daimler will meet in 2 weeks' time to decide if the Mercedes team will exit Formula One after the 2020 season. The bombshell report asserts that Daimler is under pressure to make significant cost savings, having spent billions on its F1 program since the factory team was revived to great success 10 years ago. It is claimed that the extravagance of participating in the highest form of motorsport jars with the company's plans to lay off over 10,000 staff. It is also understood that the team is under pressure to make a quick decision to minimize spending on the 2021 season, which will see the introduction of all new cars in turn prompt